Bonjour YouTube fam, Heinrich here, aka the Broken Repairman, and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to Top Tip Tuesday. I'm gonna make this Top Tip Tuesday because I want to give you tips on photography, lenses, cameras, but I do need an intro. I don't think I have a new intro. I want to make a new intro. If I do have an intro, roll the new intro. Okay, so welcome back to the channel, guys. Thank you so much for coming and taking time to watch this video. If you're here from Sheldon Zam's channel, welcome Zam Jammers. If you are here from Michael Kost's channel, welcome Bananas. Thanks for all the support. Anyway, today we're talking about the Holy Trinity of lenses, but it's not the actual Holy Trinity of lenses. It's the Holy Trinity of lenses on a budget. Because I recently saw a video on the internet of the Holy Trinity of lenses, and I went to go look at the prices of the lenses. I was like, how am I supposed to afford that? You know, first of all, I'm South African. Second of all, I'm South African. So anyway, I thought I'm going to make a video on the lenses that I use. It's also free lenses, so it had to be the Holy Trinity of lenses on a budget. So what we're looking at is a 10 to 18 millimeter, the 18 to 5 millimeter, and the 55 to 200 telephoto zoom lens. I'm sure that looks familiar to a lot of guys. Anyway, so the thing is about this kit, about this Holy Trinity, you have a focal length of 10 to 250. If you can get a 2 times teleconverter that does fit on these lenses, I don't know if you do, but if there is a 2 times teleconverter, then you got the range from 10 millimeters all the way to 500 millimeters. That is a huge range to shoot, and that covers almost all the bases of photography, because with a 10 to 18 you can get decent wide angle landscape, perfect for landscapes. Very, very good for landscapes. It's like really wide. It's like when you look through your camera, it's like your peripheral is also looking. That's when it's extended like to as wide as range, which is 10 millimeter. I do use this. I don't use it very often, but when I am gonna shoot landscapes, I definitely use this lens. It's a brilliant lens. Oh, and I have to say, all of these are the IS STM lenses. So what that is, IS stands for image stabilization. So when you're shooting video with these lenses, the lens is doing some stabilizing in it with all its mechanics and its cool stuff that Canon have developed. Canon Eugenius. Yeah, I'm sure you can see I'm a Canon fangirl. But anyway, IS stands for image stabilization, right? And then STM is silent stepping motor. That is basically for the autofocus. The lens that's currently on there does not have a stepping motor in it. So when it does autofocus, it makes like a little bit of a sound, like it goes like that. These lenses don't do that. These lenses are sleek, smooth, and silent. Hence, silent stepping motor. Anyway, that's this lens. That's the wide lens, the 10 to 18 millimeter lens. Then you got the 18 to 55. Now this is the kit lens. A kit lens is basically the lens that you're supposed to get with your kit when you do buy a camera. I don't know if I can do some focus on that. Is that focusing? Yeah. Anyway, the 18 to 55 millimeter lens is what you get with your kit when you buy a camera, and the lens that comes with that is the 18 to 55. There's a 18 to 55 on that camera as well. This is what I use to vlog, basically. This is my vlogger's lens, my vlogging lens, because you get a nice wide at 18 millimeter. That's a nice wide. So when you're vlogging, you set it on 18 millimeter, you get you can cover your face well, and you get like nice bokeh in the background. Given that it is on its lowest aperture and the ISO is on 100, you get a decent vlogging image. So it's good to vlog outside with this camera. If you are going to use with this lens, if you're going to use this lens inside, I do recommend that you have some lighting. And then this is obviously the telephoto zoom lens. So from this lens you go from wide to the start of zoom, like you go to the start of telephoto with a 55 millimeter, and then this one goes from the start of zoom all the way right through till 250 millimeter. And with this lens you can get nice isolated, you can isolate your subject very nice, because you can blur your background out completely with zooming it to its furthest end. Let's say you go to a nature reserve and you want to take some photos of the animals, of the wildlife. So it's in the title, wildlife. You're not going to go with your 18 to, you're not going to go with your 10 to 8 millimeter and go right up to the line and be like, yo, just stand like that. I just want to take a close up. You're not going to do that. No, the lion's gonna eat your face. You don't want to be the guy in the news and all over the internet that got eaten by a lion. Just like recently the guy that wrote off his BMW on the N1. I do have an opinion, but it doesn't matter. We're not talking about that. So you take out your telephoto zoom lens and you are able to zoom. You can sit in the car, van, big bucky thingy, and you can just zoom all the way up into the lion's face and be like, ha, he doesn't even know. Pa, pa, pa. Banger photos of a lion, Instagram explodes. You know, these lenses are all 4.5 to 5.6 lenses, so that is why it's the holy trinity on a budget, because the f-stop is very narrow, so there's not a lot of light going into it, but it doesn't mean you can't work with the lenses. I mean, the most expensive of these, I think, is the ones that are f2.8, so that's a nice wide aperture which lets a lot of light in. But this still works because with the technology that is in the cameras today, you can bump the ISO up to 1600, sometimes 3200, and you will still get a lovely, stunning image. You just need to know how to work with your cameras. And obviously, depending on the camera, the better the technology. The camera body is a bit more expensive. You're gonna get better images out of the camera. But if you have a nice camera that shoots 24 megapixels, and you taking a photo, and the ISO is on 1600, you are still gonna get a phenomenal photo. So if you're starting out photography, like I'm saying, if you really are starting out and you're working on saving to buy the L series lenses, the red ring lenses, I would say start with this. Start with this range, this kit. 10 to 18, 18 to 55, 55 to 250. Because with these lenses are affordable and they teach you a lot about the craft. They force you to learn about videography and photography because of the narrow aperture. With a narrow aperture, you get into manual and you're gonna set your focal range, get your focus, and then you're gonna start looking at the ISO and you're gonna see how you can push your ISO to get a good image that is well lit. But you're also gonna maybe drop your ISO a little because sometimes you want to put a bit of a mood on your photos to have it a bit dark. You know what I mean? Because that also that's part of the art and all that stuff. Oh man, this is hectic. So that's my advice. Like if you're gonna start photography, I won't say immediately go for the 50mm. I'll talk about the 50mm in another video because, that 50mm though, bam, 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 portraits like nothing. And it doesn't only have to be, okay, never mind, I'm talking about the lens, stop that. I would say if you are starting photography, save up a little money and buy these lenses, because these lenses are a good starting point. If you compare this to the L series lenses, you're not going to get that exact focal ranges of all these lenses, because the L series, they have different focal lengths. I think you get a 16 to 35. Imagine vlogging with a 16 to 35. Oh, that will be so nice. Anyway, so for all the vloggers out there, don't hate on the kit lens. The kit lens is beautiful. You got a nice wide 18 that is good for vlogging, and when you're gonna take your thumbnails, you can zoom it a little. I do almost everything on this 18 to 55 lens. This lens I have solely for landscape. I won't lie, I have this for landscape photography. This lens is my vlogger's lens. This is a nice 18mm for the vlogging, and when I shoot photos I can zoom it in and I get it between the range of 24 and 55. If you have it on 55, that's a bit more than 50, you can get brilliant portraits out of this lens. This is a beautiful lens. This is a kit lens. Don't hate on the kit lens. The kit lenses are brilliant lenses. Canon, you genius. Anyway, and then this telephoto, on its widest setting, you're already in the range of taking good portraits. And on this one's widest setting, the aperture is 5.6, right? So on 55, the aperture is 5.6, so the aperture is very narrow. So your background's not going to blur as much. But on this one's widest setting, the aperture is 4. So the aperture is much less than this, so you can throw this on and you can get a nice wide aperture and you can get good portraits because the portraits will be blurred. Look, I would recommend getting the 50mm 1.8 because I mean an f-stop of 1.8. Oh man, that's wide open. You're gonna get good blur in the background. But I mean, if you can't afford that and you have this lens, you can still take beautiful photos, portraits, and things with this lens. So that is my recommendation for you guys. The holy trinity of lenses on a budget: 10 to 18, 18 to 55, 55 to 250. Those are all Canon lenses. I don't know if Nikon has the same range though. Like, I don't hate Nikon. I don't have anything against Nikon. I'm just a Canon guy, so I know very little about Nikon. You know? But shout out to my Nikon, shout out to my Fujifilm users. Photography is a universal thing, you know? We don't isolate ourselves because of the equipment that we use. We are one. You know, I was gonna say under the gun, but that's very violent. So that's it for me. Thank you so much for following, guys. If there is any photographers, videographers watching this video, please give me advice in the comments. I don't mind some constructive criticism. I'm also starting learning about photography. It's a beautiful craft to know. I think it's very important, this photography thing, because you need to capture memories, and photography is not just taking photos. Obviously, a big part of it is taking photos, but what I believe is it's actually capturing memories. It's freezing time, you know. Someone was speaking one day, and I was doing the photography on the job, and he said, look, we do have a photographer here, so if you want to take some good photos, approach him, ask him, don't be shy, because these are the memories that we make, and these are the memories that we want to remember. And what better way to remember a memory by having it physically that you can look at it. So I think photography is important. Sorry, that's a whole nother topic. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.